Happy day and a very good afternoon to one and all present here. The Ministry of Health and Hygiene, MOP Vaishnav College, is very happy to invite each and every one of you to our very first event of the year. We have a guest lecture prepared on self-regulatory behavior during COVID-19. I, Amita TK, the Deputy Minister of BSc Psychology, am glad to be the MC for the event and to take you through the event. I now call upon our Deputy Minister from Food Science and Management, M.K. Sadhika, to grace the occasion with the invocation song.
मैत्रीं भजताम् अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजताम् अखिलहृजेत्रीम् आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यथ आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यथ युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेषु अक्रममाक्रमणम् त्यजत परेषु अक्रममाक्रमणम् मैत्रीं भजताम् अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजताम् अखिलहृजेत्रीम् जननी पृथिवी कामदुःखास्ते जननी पृथिवी कामदुःखास्ते जनको देवा सकलदयालु जनको देवा सकलदयालु दाम्यत दत्ता दयत्वां जनक दाम्यत दत्ता दयत्वां जनक श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनान् श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां 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 श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां
Thank you, Sadhika. I now welcome Akshaya K., Minister from the Department of Psychology, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, Sadhika.
Happy day. It is indeed my honor and privilege to be welcoming you all to this session. I extend my warm welcome and gratitude to our Principal, Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan, Vice Principal, Dr. Uttira, our beloved Head of Departments, faculty members, and all the students for accepting our invite and for being here with us today. My most sincere gratitude to our resource person, Mr. Vikrant Babu, KG, a RCI registered clinical psychologist, currently working as an assistant professor and coordinator, Department of Psychology, Christu Jayanti College, Bengaluru. Mr. Vikrant has a profound interest in the contemporary fields of psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness, hypnotherapy, and yoga therapy, applying them in a wide range of areas such as stress management, clinical depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, and somatoform disorder. The topic to be addressed today is the centralized issue which is to be contaminated with our lives at present, self-regulatory behavior. In the most basic sense, it's the ability to manage disruptive emotions and impulses. Before I hand over my note to the key speaker, I would like to convey a perfect saying relevant to the topic. When we self regulate well, we are better able to control the trajectories of our emotional lives and resulting actions based on our values and sense of person. We are glad to have you amidst us today, sir. Now I request sir to begin the session.
Thank you, Akshaya. Thank you all for having me here. First, I would like to place on the records my sincere gratitude to the Department of Psychology and the management of MOP Vaishnav College, Chennai. So, so for the first time when I was approached to take on the topic on self-regulation, especially self-regulation has been a very important topic since the COVID situation had started last year. So it has been gaining a lot of momentum in terms of research and in terms of practice, especially amongst various sect of people. So today, I would be directly going into the topic. I'll be wanting to just give a small brief about what I'll be talking about. So I just want you to understand, on the first place, what do we mean by self-regulation? Where does the word start from? What does it mean? So we'll get look into certain definitions, certain theoretical aspects, just for us to get a basis of what and how they are linked to the various other practices, the self-regulatory practices that we can follow across in our daily day-to-day activities. So just let me start my screen share. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So getting into the topic, so self-regulating behaviors to cope up with the stresses during COVID-19. I'm sure in the last 1 year, so many things have changed in most of our lives. In fact, one of the things is what we are experiencing right now: taking sessions online or attending to webinars, sitting in front of a computer and listening to classes, lectures, webinars, seminars, attending conferences, presenting papers, attending office meetings, to meeting doctors over the phone. Things have changed up. Things have become more digital in the last 1 year. Things have We have adapted to the situation in a unexpected way. So there was a lot of uncertainty that was posted towards us, and we had gracefully accepted that uncertainty and made it into perfect opportunities for us to grow in our life. So starting there, first I would want to give you a gist of the major areas that I'll be dealing today. So I want you to understand what is meant by self-regulation. From there on, we'll be going on to a simple things on how COVID-19 has affected, especially on students, because as I know, most of you students here have different kinds of aspects or understanding towards the COVID-19 situation. And also, I'll be talking about a little bit about why is that self-regulation such an important thing? Why should we follow it? Why? How does it make our life better? And also, last, I'll be concluding with various ways in which we would be engaging into self-regulatory behaviors on a day-to-day basis. So let me get into the topic of self-regulation. The terminology self-regulation has been a main focus of so many psychologists, researchers. Not only psychologists, it did not stop there. It had ventured into various other areas, even in fact in areas of management and health sciences. It has encroached itself into various other areas where the need for self-regulation was emphasized so much in those domains as well. So, talking about self regulation, before going into self regulation, we need to know that our body naturally has a way to regulate itself. That's a process that we are going to call as homeostasis. So all of you here, I'm sure, must be aware of the concept of homeostasis. So when we are saying homeostasis, homeostasis is a process where we are trying to strike back in balance. We are trying to bring back our equilibrium. So from the place, for example, a simple homeostatic behavior that we all go through is, for example, the climate has been hot, so the internal body temperature goes up, and in order to reduce the body temperature, we start sweating so that the heat comes out. So this is a natural body, so process that regularly happens in each and every one of us on a day-to-day basis. This is nothing but a regulatory process. It's like a fan regulator. So for example, when the temperature goes up, what do we tend to do? We increase the fan regulator speed, or we reduce the AC temperature, so that we come to an optimum level where we feel comfortable to stay. And that status where we are feeling very comfortable, where we are going to say that yes, I feel comfortable at this range, I feel comfortable at this range, is going to differ from one individual to another individual. I'm sure when we take a simple house, we would have seen as a youngest of all would be like, I would want to keep the AC temperature at 21, and the older peoples will be like, no, 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 I think it is enough if we set at 25. So there will be a conflict, and they'll be feeling very cold when it is kept at 21, whereas when it is kept at 25, even though it is not sweating, still the youngest in the house might feel not very comfortable at that temperature. So where and how we are going to strike that regulatory process is going to be a very challenging thing. But our body naturally has the tendency to do it. Every one of us, it has a lot of regulatory processes that happens to make sure that we stay in a status of equilibrium. Always there is a balance that is striked. There is an it never goes too hot and too cold. It always maintains an equilibrium so that we are functioning optimally. So for optimal level of functioning, it has been understood homeostasis is very, very important. Most of the things that happens in our life are process of the homeostasis only. For example, if we are too stressed, so the after effects of stress is nothing but our body trying to or mismanaging certain resources in order to bring back the homeostasis. So trying to bring back the equilibrium, trying to strike it so that we make sure we stay at that level where we are feeling very comfortable. So usually we try different aspects in order to come back to that normal level. It's a natural process. But in recent days, it has been understood certain regulatory processes are very natural. For example, what we have been discussing till now in terms of certain reactions that we show towards certain things, and the body and heat and the temperature and the body reactions, or anxiety and the physiological reactions, all these are nothing but various regulatory processes that happens in our body. But apart from these naturally occurring regulatory processes, sometimes it becomes important for us to focus on ourselves. So our engagement into certain kinds of behavior, that is going to help us to regulate ourselves. Okay, so that is where we are going to get into the topic of self regulation. So I've been telling about this. So yes, as humans, we have been trying to extensively put in or exert control over our abilities, so that there is, especially our inner states, the processes and the responses that we are going to get. I'm talking at a more at a behavioral level right now. So every time before I respond, I do certain things, there will be a lot of control that I am trying to bring in. Okay, I know what is the situation, where I am, how I have to do, how I'm going to go forward. So based on this, always I'll be changing, I'll be assessing my inner states, I'll be looking at the processes that is going to take place, and also I'll be evaluating my responses that I'm going to give in that particular situation. So when the situation changes, again I'll be changing my way of reaction to that particular scenario. So every time the same scenario in two different situations, we are going to interact and react in a very different way. Okay, so predominantly when we talk about self-regulatory behavior, these are the aspects that generally we are trying to discuss about, because uh, behavioral level, when we are talking about regulation of self-regulation, so we talk about how to resist our impulses. So there are a lot of impulses. Impulses are nothing but a thought that suddenly comes, oh, I need to do this, and trying to getting engaged into that impulses. A very simple impulse, if I can talk about, when we start preparing for an exam. So what do we start doing? Okay, we keep our phone right next to us. We keep our books, our phone, everything around in the same environment. So now what happens? Suddenly, even though you have put your phone on silent, you have turned on the screen, the phone vibrates. That vibration acts as a stimulus for you, which creates an impulse. Oh, I am studying for the exam. Who's that who would have sent the message to me right now? So immediately you would want to check the message. What do? You have been focusing on a particular topic. Now you have lost track on the particular topic that you were focusing on. Your attention shifted towards the other thing that has been happening. So you were not able to control your impulse at that point of time. So this is a very simple self-regulatory process. No, no, no. I'm studying. So the thought process can help us to do that. So hey, I'm studying for the exam tomorrow. I have my exams to complete. So let me focus on this book. Let me check the message once I complete this particular chapter that I'm studying right now. So this is how we engage slowly into self-regulatory behaviors. Same way, self-regulatory behaviors can be seen in terms of adapting our behaviors to a different range of standards. Okay, so to various or ranges of standards. So trying to adapt our behavior, how we have to, okay, when I'm at school or when I'm at college, when I'm at home, when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my relatives, I keep changing, I keep adapting our behavior according to the situation, according to the standards that is expected out of that situation. This is also a kind of a self-regulatory behavior we regularly engage in. Also, another important aspect of self-regulation is our ability to change the current behaviors in the service of attaining a distant goal. So we have set a goal for ourselves, and in order to achieve or reach that particular goal, okay, so we keep changing our behaviors. Okay, I tried this, I was stuck at that particular point of time. That means I have to adapt myself and make sure I'm coming out of that so that I can keep moving towards the particular goal that I'm having. So this is how we engage. So all these processes that I have been telling right now are part and parcel of our self-regulatory behaviors, starting from ability to control our impulse, ability to adapt ourselves and change the current behavior in order to achieve the goal that we are having in our mind. So simply, self-regulatory behaviors are things that is going to help you to achieve your goal in your long-term plans. Okay, so let's see, in terms of definition, so we can say that self-regulation is an ability to understand and manage one's behavior, reaction to feelings and things that are happening around them. Okay, so self-regulation is the ability for us to understand, manage, and also manage the behavior and also check the reactions to the feelings that we are having around a particular thing that is happening currently. Okay, so in this scenario, in this seminar that we are having right now, let us consider the situation to be COVID. Okay, so we all know how it has drastically impacted on most of our life. Even though we have beautifully come out of it, we have tried to establish. We have started living like, oh hey pal, COVID, how are you doing? So we have started becoming pals. Like we are like, we don't want to treat you as a distant enemy. It's okay. I know you're there. I would want to control certain aspects. If I keep doing that, I don't think I'll be contracting you. So, wearing a mask, sanitizing our hands, or washing our hands regularly, maintaining distance between two people when you're conversing, when you're traveling, trying to make sure you're avoiding unnecessary travels, unnecessary visits to different places, especially crowded places, if you find certain places to be crowded. So, all these are certain behavioral changes or self regulations that you have brought in because you understood the situation of COVID, because it is a disease that can easily get transmitted through aerosol and other droplets. Okay, also we have managed our behavior by putting us a lot of control. I'm sure 1 year back, most of us, okay, let's say January 2020. Okay, January 2020, around this time I was attending a seminar in Thailand. So I was there presenting a paper and I was doing all those things. I can still think of the things that I did there. Okay, I 1 year back, just 1 year back, I did not have this thought of wearing a mask when I'm going out in the public. But right now, when I step out of my house, the first thing, okay, first thing I'm doing is I'm checking if I have worn my mask. So my behaviors have changed. I have managed my behaviors in order to manage the situation that we are in right now. Also, I am also trying to, and I have also successfully tried to change my reactions to the feelings. Yes, many a times it has created a lot of distressful situation for us. Okay, so I'll be explaining how COVID has impacted in many of the students' life. So it has created a lot of distress for many students. So how we are managing that reaction, how we are coming out of it, is something that we have to really look into. Okay, so when we are talking about self-regulation, so it includes various things. One among us, regulating reactions to emotions such as both frustration and excitement. Okay, so that's what we are striking a homeostasis. We are trying to come to a balance here. So trying to manage both our frustration and excitement at the same level. We are regulating the reactions to them. Okay, we are trying to calm down after something exciting or upsetting. Okay, then focusing on the task at hand, refocusing our attention on a new task. Okay, once we have completed a particular task, how to refocus our attention into a new task, and our ability to control our impulses. These are various things that we can talk about when we are telling about self regulation. So these are three steps that, again, I would want to emphasize on self regulation. First is monitoring our own behavior. Okay, let us come back to our friend here, COVID 19. So what are the various ways that we have adopted in order to monitor our own behaviors? So simple thing, we started with how to wash our hands. Yes, day one of COVID, the government started taking steps, explaining. WHO has put in a lot of videos, posters explaining to us how we have to wash our hands, what are the process, what is, why is it so important for us to wash our hands for more than 30 seconds, how it can have an effect. So we monitor our own behavior. So whenever I go to wash my hand these days, I make sure I'm following all the steps and procedures. I am, even though it takes a longer time than before, where I used to quickly wash, use the soap, just rub it around 3 4 times and just quickly wash it off and come back. Now I spend a quality of 25 to 30 seconds around the wash station, where I'm monitoring myself. Okay, did I do it correctly? Did I cover everything? Then also how it can have an influence on our behavior. We also must be very much aware about this particular process, how this particular thing can have an influence on our current behavior. Okay, so again, the influence can be both positive as well as negative, as well as the consequences. Okay, not only the influences, even the consequences can be both positive and negative. It depends upon how we have utilized that particular situation. There are many people for whom these behaviors has not really worked out. For example, let's take a person who's been affected with obsessive compulsive disorder. It's a disorder where they have excessive feeling towards cleanliness, engaging into a clean behavior again and again and again. So they want to engage into hand washing behaviors and other things. So that particular thought process that they are having, that it's getting influenced because of this current situation. So how they engage into certain self-regulatory process in order to come out of all these problems. Next is next important point that we need to talk about self-regulation is how to judge our behavior in relation to our own personal standards. The definition of personal standards would have got updated, yeah, from version probably 1.0, which we were following right from 18 years of life. Recently, because of this current situation, we have updated it to version 2.0, where we have uh, got an understanding. Okay, this is something that we have to do. Probably meeting your friends, shaking hands, or uh, hugging them. These were common reactions when you saw your friends previously. But maybe once the college reopens, once you go back to the college, you will be like more like hi. There'll be a good amount of distance that you'll be maintaining. You'll be just like hi, how are you? There'll be a different kind of greeting each other. The personal standards would have changed. It would have become sometimes broader, and also currently it is more contextual in terms of what we are going to do. Yeah, so for this situation, these are the things that we need to do. So again, self-regulatory behaviors and processes is what helps us to engage into these kind of things. Also, coming to know about how do we react to our own behavior, that is also kind of a self-regulatory process. Because as I told you, the concept of self-regulation has been into the foray for the last 25 to 30 years, predominantly after the evolution of the concepts such as emotional intelligence. Two concepts majorly came out of it. One of it was self-regulation, the other aspect was self-awareness. So both of these pairs go hand in hand. So only when you have increased amount of self-awareness, then you will be able to emphasize or bring in a lot of self-regulatory behaviors. So only if I know what is the thing that irritates me, what are the things that is going to affect me, then I'll be able to regulate it so that it does not affect me that much. So we need to know or react to our own behavior. For example, like what we think, how we feel about our behaviors. Constantly we need to take a checkup and make sure that we are okay. Yes, this is what is happening, this is the thing that is going on right now. Okay, so also these self-regulatory skills, okay, has a direct effect on certain kind of functions which are directly related to the brain. Okay, for example, these the culmination of these skills, we are going to call it as executive functioning. So it's a very broad range of areas that we are discussing about. So, in terms of a pure neurobiological aspects, we call it as the entire area dominated by prefrontal cortex, and I don't want to get into details of those things. So, it's all the higher order cognitive processes. So, how combination or culmination of two or three things together helps us to behave, react, lead a life in a particular way. So all these skills together, the culmination, we are going to call it as executive function skills. And these things predominantly involve three major aspects: working memory, mental flexibility, and self-control. So this is where we are coming into the concept of, again, self-regulation from a more of a neurobiological aspect. The aspects of working memory or memory, we all are very much clear of what is memory. So yeah, right from our school days, beginning of the school days, we'll be like, you should remember this, you should know what is this. We have been constantly been instructed to remember things, to memorize things. Memory has been a major focus for many of us in the last few decades. So when we were growing up, right from day one, memory has been emphasized on. So this concept of working memory is a little different. It is more like a dynamic model of what we call a short-term memory, where it tries to integrate information that are coming up, trying to put it together. That's the initial thing that is required when we are going to engage into self-regulatory behaviors. So how I'm going to culminate information from situation A, situation B, situation C, put them together, make a cohesive sense of what that is. That is where working memory is going to come into play. And the next is mental flexibility. Again, I've been telling about that we need to adapt ourselves. Adaptation is a process that might sound very simple when we are hearing, but it becomes very difficult when we are going to execute it, because it has to do a lot of things about our neural pathways. So how we need to, how we have brought in certain kind of behaviors or personality over the years, suddenly changing them is going to become very, very difficult. A simple example I can give again is, how many of you were thought you had the capacity to sit in front of a computer or a mobile or a tablet and listen to a lecture that is going to go for or span for more than 1 hour or 15 minutes? So that was something that was not at all there in our foray few days back. But in the last at least 7 to 8 months, when the school started and other things happened, so we have started adapting to it. That happens only when we have a good amount of mental flexibility. Okay, so this flexibility is what gives us the capacity to shift focus from one stimulus to another stimulus, and also make sure that we are applying context appropriate rules for these attentions and behaviors. So this is where mental flexibility comes into play. And the last one is what we are focusing on, trying to bring in a self control. So that self control and self regulation goes hand in hand. So our abilities to set priorities. Okay, this is what I want. If I'm going to achieve this goal, for example, there are life science and psychology students here. So you all would have certain kind of priorities. Okay, once I complete my undergraduation, what is my next plan? What that next plan is completely dependent on the final goal or the priority that you have set for yourself. So the next and the subsequent plans are going to go ahead in terms of what we have already planned. This helps us to regulate our emotions. This self-control also makes us aware of our emotions and help us to regulate our emotions, also to resist our impulses. So, giving a final touch with a classical definition by Brown in 1998, where he says self regulation is an individual's ability to manage emotional and physical arousal and execute his or her behavior in response to contextual demands. So, with this, I would like to take you to the next topic. So, yeah, before we go there, I just want to say when you're talking about self regulation, this concept of self regulation can be looked at from two different areas. One is the behavioral level and the emotional level, because as you all know, when we look into the definition of health, health is more to do with your not only your absence of any illness or anything, but it has to do more with your physical, social, and your psychological or your mental well-being. So it is a combination of different things. So how our behaviors and emotions can be self-regulated is what we are going to look into the coming slides. Yeah. So talking to you about the effects of COVID-19. So I'm sure all of you can easily concur with these points here. So first and foremost, yes, increased screen time, let it be TV, let it be computers or phones times, it has drastically increased, both a positive way and a negative way. The positive way would be more like to do in terms of attending classes and going for some lectures, conferences, seminars, webinars. All these things can be directly called as a positive thing or very necessary things. So these are essential and very necessary things. Whereas screen time has also increased drastically for certain things that are not very much necessary. For example, excessive involvement into social media pages, so WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all these things has drastically increased in the last few months, the usages and everything. So students naturally tend to get attracted to these mediums because generally being socializing and all these things is a major aspect that many of the adolescents get involved into at this particular phase. So the only way in which socialization could continue was through the use of these social media platforms. So there was no other way in which we could avoid these socialization processes. So there is an increased screen time that has taken place in many of the students' life. The next major damage that has happened in students' life is reduction in the physical activity. I know some of you, right from the beginning, there has been emphasis on engaging into a lot of physical activities, keeping yourself doing a lot of exercises, practicing yoga, trying to make sure that you are getting involved into various ways so that you keep up your physical levels at a physical activity at a different level. But it was not possible or viable for everyone to engage into such kind of physical activities. But for most of them, the term physical activity was directly concurring with the aspects where they were thinking that they can go out, meet with their friends, go out and be play a game in a ground, or probably play shuttle, badminton, tennis, football, cricket, any kind of games that would have meant physical activity for many of them. For some of them, just engaging into day-to-day activities, walking around in a park, all these things were physical activities. But all these things, because of the current situation, had drastically got affected. Even if it has been played, it has been played in a completely different manner. So this reduction of physical activity has had a lot of negative impact in terms of the hormonal secretion, the neurotransmitter secretion, which has hampered the well-being of a particular individual, because physical activity is one easy source of us making sure that we are keeping ourselves fit. Okay, it's also a kind of a self-regulatory behavior. Physical activity can also be easily made into a self-regulatory behavior. Already I had covered, or I had shared to you about how this current situation had led to inability to meet friends, had led to reduced social contact, the socialization process. Probably most of you are in fact attending classes right now, but all of you are sitting in different rooms. That was not the scenario last year. You were able to meet your friend, chat with your friend, pull your friends, like play pranks. You were able to do so many things when you were meeting them offline. But online had a completely different kind of a thing, because one of the easy way of us reducing stress was meeting up with friends. So even physical activity was another major source of us engaging into stress reduction behaviors. These are things that was naturally happening to us. Also, there is a lot of thoughts or anxiety about the future that has set into many students' life, especially students at the end of their undergraduation or post graduation. What is going to happen next? How the exams are going to happen? There were a lot of questions right from the beginning. Even today, many of them, how these results would be considered by their potential employers, how they'll be going ahead considered. All these kind of major questions were coming up for most of these students. So that is where these people started panicking. The anxiety started bouncing like anything. So these kind of that uncertainty, the thoughts of uncertainty, what next, the big question mark that started coming up at the end of their post graduation or undergraduation degree was a major thing for many of the students to handle. But that was the same scenario even for students in the second year or the first year, because they were also not sure how this is going to impact their future career prospects. There is a lot of anxiety that has come up about their future. So this is another major effect that has been identified in terms of COVID-19 on students. And I'm sure all of you would be very easily recognizing this particular fact of changes in the sleep patterns and the eating patterns. I'm sure previously when college was working, we used to go to sleep around 11, wake up by 7, get ready. If we are staying in a place like Chennai or Bangalore where the traffic is a little high, so you would have to travel around 25 to 30 minutes before you reach your workplace or your college. You would have to leave early. So probably you'll start around 8:20 or 8:25 so that you reach the college by 8:45, 8:50, and you can be inside the department by 9 o'clock before the classes begin. So this was how the patterns were going on before. And eating was also very much regularized because of the college happening. Because, okay, even though most of the students did have the habit of skipping food before and the breakfast time, and that has substantially changed in the modern in the recent days, but still there was a time, specific time when we had a breakfast, there was a specific time when we had lunch. We used to come back, we used to have a snack along with a cup of a tea or a coffee. Then we used to go for our dinner around 8 or 9. But many places, these eating patterns have changed. Eating has become even more erratic these days. Like, okay, I just got up from, okay, now let's start right from one, the sleep pattern. So, previously, we had the concept that yes, I need to go to college. I'll be losing my attendance if I don't reach college on time. But now I am attending classes right from home. I can just 10 minutes before the class begins, I can just quickly get up, wash my face, brush my teeth, sit in front of the system to attend the class. So things have changed. So your sleeping pattern has changed. Probably a person who was daily getting up by 7 o'clock, slowly your pattern would have changed. Like, okay, let me get up by 8:30. That was usually the time when you were leaving to college. Yeah. So what happens where you wake up by 8:30 or 8:35, by 9 o'clock the class happens. So quickly you brush, take bath. You would not have time for food. So you'll be like, okay, let the first hour get over, let me have it. So probably after 50 minutes or 1 hour of the first hour, then you go there and you quickly grab something before the next break happens. Or even sometimes it has been reported that students turn off their camera and eat food, but still there has been a lot of change in the eating pattern when we are eating dinner, when we are eating lunch. Because previously lunch was a very regularized, yes, when we were in college, all the friends used to sit together, we used to eat at a particular point of time, it used to be regulated. But now that also has changed drastically. So both our sleep as well as our eating pattern has got a drastic change in terms of the effect from the COVID-19 situation. And the most important of all of these things that has affected the students' well-being is the increased amount of interpersonal problems that has been happening or has been reported during this 10 months time period, because we have never spent so much of time with so many of them in our family in the last few years. So probably we would have never your parents who where both of them are working, having a long hours of work to do every day, so used to come back late at night. Probably you'll spend 1 hour or 2 hour, you did not get enough time to spend with them, did not get time to share the things that you're having. Probably all those things would have changed right now. There would have been a lot of even though both it would have happened on a positive note as well, where interpersonal relationships would have improved, but mostly what has been reported is in terms of interpersonal problems increasing, not able to handle things that we thought we would be able to handle it before. So unexpected amount of time being spent at home, not able to go out, that frustration. So automatically our social contact and ability to meet our friends have come down. So everything was limited to us four walls for at least for a period of 3 months. So all these things had created a lot of interpersonal issues. So how, what is going to happen, how things are going to happen, all of these things did undergo a lot of change. So based on these effects that we saw right now based on COVID-19, this is where we need to understand why we need to have self-regulation behaviors. Because now that the stressors and the potential aspects that is having effect on a student's life daily is understood, where we can apply and how self-regulation can be useful for us is what we are going to discuss. So when we talk about self-regulation, self-regulation is a very active agent. It's a dynamic one. It keeps on evaluating things. I told, right, it's all to do with your self-regulation and sorry, self-awareness and other things. So it keeps on evaluating, it keeps on thinking, okay, what now, what next, what is going to happen. So it's a very active agent, and also it's a decision maker. Okay, do this, do that. That's self-regulation. Okay, take the phone or don't take the phone. That's going to be the conflict that's going to be there in your mind. Okay, the decision maker is your self-regulatory processes. If your self-regulation is very high, then you will end up not picking up that cell phone at that particular point of time, because it is going to hamper your educational the continuum of whatever you have been studying. And moreover, this particular concept of self-regulation is a vital aspect of us or humans for adaptation to life, without which the individuals would have become very helpless spectators of various events. Because the self-regulation, because this is not the first time a pandemic has been happening. So I'm sure as soon as this first pandemic was announced, there were various other epidemics that was also being discussed about, something such as Ebola, Zika virus. There were many other things that also started getting discussed. And fortunately or unfortunately, we started discussing about what happened 100 years back in 1920, when the Spanish flu had come up. So immediately we started collecting informations, because we wanted ourselves to be adapted. So people from 1920s in fact were able to adapt because of their self-regulatory behaviors, even though there was a low amount of medical technologies that was available than today. People were able to bring a lot of control because of the self-regulatory processes or behaviors that they were having. So this self-regulatory behaviors are very much essential when it comes to human adaptation of life. So with this particular self-regulatory behavior is what we have crossed so many of our hurdles across various generations and have reached at this particular point of time. Okay, or else, as mentioned, we would be just mere helpless spectators. Okay, it's happening, I have to undergo it, I don't have any other say in it, just passive, being a very passive recipient of whatever is happening and letting it go. But because of our self-regulatory behaviors, I try to bring in a control, I make sure I modified it and went ahead. So for a person who displays the self-regulatory behaviors in their everyday life is always enjoying a greater well-being. And many researchers have proven this fact, that a person with good self regulation is equal to a better well being. So again, as we told, self-regulation can happen in multiple dimensions, just like well-being can also happen in multiple dimensions. So the more you engage into self-regulatory behaviors, the better will be your well-being for the future life. So, starting from right at that note, let us look into various needs one by one. So, let's look into certain research evidences that becomes very essential when we are going to talk about need for self-regulation. So, one of the studies that was conducted by Bowers spoke about self-regulation as an important thing for enhancing our pro-social behavior. Okay, so pro-social behaviors are behaviors that we engage into in order to engage with the society, to for the well-being of the society, to increase the societal needs. So pro-social behaviors and also social competence, our capacity to interact with others, our capacity to meet others, talk, create and initiate discussions, to maintain and sustain a discussion, it was very very important for us to have self-regulation. So they had told, and this particular study was taken up from the 2006 study by Spinrad, who also emphasized self-regulation directly has an impact on pro-social behaviors and social competence. Another important thing about self-regulation that they have suggested is the aspects of academic achievement. I'll be today talking about what is called as self-regulatory learning behaviors, SRLs. So this is a growing concept in the last few decades. In the last 2 decades, this has been one of the most studied topics in education technology and in education psychology. So where we are trying to enhance a student's academic achievement through process of certain self-regulatory learning behaviors. So it became very 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 important for us to focus on how we are regulating our learning behaviors. So that is another important reason why we need to keep working on our self-regulatory behaviors. Next is, we have been discussing, enhances the psychological well-being. Higher the self-regulation, higher the psychological well-being. So not only psychological well-being, engaging into certain other behaviors also can lead to, for example, having a self-regulated eating behavior, or a self-regulated exercise behavior, self-regulated sleep behaviors. All these things can touch upon various other segments also. It can touch upon your psychological well-being, your social well-being, as well as your physical well-being. So it touches all three major areas of the health of a particular person. So psychological well-being has been one of the major areas that also has been getting improved because of the self-regulatory processes. Again, it has also been identified people with poor self-regulation, they did have a lot of long-term negative consequences. Just this is enhancing our perspective or our view why we should focus a lot on self-regulatory behavior. So for example, people with poor self-regulatory behavior ended up with lower educational attainment, and it seems fair enough, right? Because we have in fact discussed in the previous slides also that how me getting distracted. Okay, so many of you would concur and agree with me very easily when I say that, okay, just 1 minute, okay, I'll just check what did my friend post in Facebook. Okay, someone has told in WhatsApp that it's a very funny post, so just let me for 1 second look into it. Okay, so we open up, we'll try to scroll up, our fingers will be going up scrolling the mobile phone, trying to find out where that particular post is. Once we identify the post, we read it, we laugh at it, but unfortunately people with poor self-regulatory behaviors will not be able to keep the phone back down. They will be continuously looking, okay, let me look next, keep on scrolling up. It becomes an indefinite scroll. It's there is no end. Even if you go back 10 years before what a person has posted, it keeps on going. Even though I have not tried it, but it keeps on going. So it's going to be an indefinite post that's not going to get over. So many different people liking each other, different photos, different things being posted, different concepts being sold around, everything. We keep on a mereless thing that we do without any purpose, and purposeless activity that we engage into. So After 15-20 minutes, the student is going to realize, oh, I have to study. Then the student keeps it down and then suddenly jumps back, and so then he'll be like, oh, what was it that I last studied? I don't remember, so let me start from the beginning. So the person has already lost his capacity to focus. So this might end up in lower educational attainment. Okay. Also, in terms of adults, it has been found that persons with poor self-regulatory behaviors ended up having a lot of financial difficulties, because again, it is a very clear cut idea. I'm sure all of you would be able to understand. When I do not want to regulate my behaviors in a particular way, I engage spending because there is no self control. I would engage, or I would spend into, I'll become a spendthrift. I'll spend on various things that are not essentially necessary for me at this point. So most of us, before we invest our money into certain things, we keep thinking that's also a self regulatory process. Okay, whether it's going to be useful, whether if I pay this much, what would be the benefit that I'll be getting out of it? What if I get a similar kind of product for a much cheaper price? There'll be so many thought processes, evaluations, why this, why that. We'll be trying to compare and contrast between two responses. We'll try to buy something that financially works out, as well as in terms of how long do you want to use it, that also works out. But when a person does not have such self-regulatory behaviors, they will end up spending a lot on unnecessary things. So this has led to a lot of financial difficulties in terms of adults. Okay, so uh, okay, also coming out from those research evidences, for us to successfully self-regulate, there are certain things that we need to do. That is what we call as strategic mobilization of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Okay, so we mobilize our thoughts. Okay, what is the thoughts going on? What are the thoughts? How do I feel about that particular thought? Certain thoughts make you happy, certain thoughts make you feel sad, certain thoughts are going to make you anxious. So I assess or mobilize my thoughts, feelings associated with it, and what would be the action that I'll be initiating based on the thought that has come up. Okay, so this is where things are going to go fall into. This is how we are going to fall into. So especially when we are facing obstacles, okay, such as COVID-19 currently, it raises a lot of conflict between different goals. Okay, personal safety versus going out and enjoying with our friends versus spending time in a particular place that we usually go. Personal safety versus going and visiting our doctor at his house so that we get a proper evaluation done. So there are so many things that comes up, okay, with our personal safety. So especially when we are facing these obstacles, that is where the conflicts of goal starts. Then self-regulation process must kick in order to enhance the well-being. So the self-regulation generally is construed as a systemic process that involves a lot of conscious effort to influence our thought, feelings, and actions, that is the behavior, in order to achieve the goal in context of changing environment. So this, if we achieve, okay, if we are able to achieve our goals even in the context of the changing environment, that is where we have succeeded using our self-regulatory behaviors. Okay, let's go into the main concept. So I would want most of you who are here, who are joined in the live segment, to make a note of things that you can do in order to enhance your self-regulation skills. Okay, so self-regulation skills can be as simple as things that I'm going to tell to much more complicated things. But I have made sure that I have come up with certain set of things that you can practice on a day-to-day activity or a day-to-day skill, so that you can enhance your regulation self-regulation skills in such a phased manner. Okay, I don't want to talk about highly sophisticated techniques and terminologies. I would want to keep it very simple so that it suits every one of you sitting today. Okay, you can also share it around with others at home. First and foremost, my most favorite, engaging into regular physical activity. Okay, some way or the other, I've already told you there has been a drastic impact in the amount of hours that we have been engaging into physical activities in the last 1 year. Okay, this fact I am not sharing with you. This is a fact that has been put up by the WHO. So WHO is saying that the amount of hours spent in physical activity has drastically reduced, and it one in one of its reports had emphasized very clearly that an adult, okay, which most of us are here today, an adult, a minimum of 120 minutes in a week. Okay, it seems very doable, right? It's a very meager amount that WHO is emphasizing on. In a week, 120 minutes, amounting up to 2 hours in an entire week. And that is a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes every day that you're going to fulfill this particular criteria. So, engaging into these physical activities directly has impact on the secretion of certain kind of neurotransmitters. So that neurotransmitter regulation, for example, secretion of dopamine, serotonin, GABA, there are various kinds of neurotransmitters that can get secreted when you start engaging into behaviors. So physical activity related behaviors. So these physical activities can range from anything. Okay, it is a choice of yours. That's why I have mentioned as many things as possible here, and rest is left up to your imagination. How do you want to do it? Some will be like, sir, I want to do tai chi. You can. So some can be like, I want to be a part of Zumba. It doesn't matter what you're doing. All that counts is that your ability to engage into a physical activity for a minimum of 120 minutes in a week. That becomes the most important thing. So in top of this list, I would suggest yoga, because yoga has been not only for its Indian origin that it has, but yoga has a lot of other components that it tries to cover up all the different aspects of a healthy person. For example, yoga does not have practices that impacts your physical activities alone. Okay, not only your physical activities, but also it in many ways affects your cognitive processes, your emotional processes, your social processes, based on the processes given by Sage Patanjali, the Ashtanga Yoga, which talks about 8 different limbs that are part of yoga. Many of us see it as physical activity, but it is a culmination of many other things. So yoga could be something that most of you can try on a day-to-day basis. It does not emphasize on flexibility, it emphasizes on your ability to engage into that particular activity. That's the most important thing. Next is, yes, as you prefer, you can go to gym, you can go for a brisk walking. This is what I've noticed, because many people say, okay, I'm casually walking, this is a walking for me, let me walk for 15 minutes and go back. No, walking should be a brisk walking, a straight, straight physical structure, looking straight, walking as fast as possible. It should be fast, but it should not be running. Okay. Next important thing that you can do is swimming. Again, swimming is also a very good physical activity that is going to help you to come out of any kind of troubles. So again, cycling. Okay, some of you can make a healthy behavior choice, such as trying to cycle down from your workplace or from your house to your college. So you can choose to do cycling as a part of your day-to-day activity. Also, getting involved into jogging. These are some of the physical activities that you can engage into. But again, this list is not at all exhaustive. Okay, it's a non-exhaustive list. It keeps growing and growing and growing. You can engage into any different kinds of behaviors that you feel you want to get involved into. It's completely left up to you. So this is the first aspect of creating self-regulation. So when we are going to talk about self-regulation in terms of physical activity, I would emphasize you to be first and foremost, create a schedule. Okay, every day I get up at this time, I'm going to do this, because that is what we are going to talk in the coming slides. So let's look into balanced diet, then we'll look into time management and other aspects. So when we are talking about balanced diet, so when what we call as balanced diet is I'm sure there are students from nutrition also here. They would know what is called as a balanced diet. We are not trying to put across a specific thing in more and rest of the things in less. We need to create a food which is a blend of different things such as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, fibers, which is a part of your everyday meal. Okay, so there should be certain ways in order to create that perfect balance in your food, your everyday food process, so that you get enough amount of nutrition for a healthy physical living. Okay, this the more healthy you feel, the more psychologically happy you're going to feel. Okay, so balanced diet or dieting, diet, don't go fall for the term called as diet or dieting. So here when I say balanced diet, I'm just talking about having a good amount of, or a perfect amount of food that is going to help you stay nutritioned and healthy for a long period of time. So first and foremost, when we talk about food and other things, is in terms of self-regulatory behaviors, could be engaging into drinking more and more water, and also diluted juices, because it replenishes immediately, it gets absorbed by your bodies and cells very quickly. It provides enough nutrition that you want for every day. Eat a very good breakfast, because uh, what I've heard, at least from my students here in our college, is that most of them end up skipping the breakfast. Then they go directly go have. This is a common thing that I have noticed, but I'm sure most of you could concur with your local snack there. Most of them go down to our canteens here, go have a cup of coffee or samosa, come back, attend the classes in a short 10 minutes break. That is the maximum that they could do. They do not have any dietary, these are things which do not have any kind of dietary benefits for us. So they engage into such kind of behaviors regularly, that is going to have a lot of physical impact for that particular person. Okay, so they end up not taking good amount of breakfasts every day. That is going to have a major impact both psychologically and physically. Okay, then also one thing that all of you can start doing today is having healthy snacks at home. Okay, so healthy foods, healthy. So most of us end up. Okay, if I ask, I'm sure when I'm going to ask that what is a quick time snack that you can immediately think of when you're hungry, most of the students here, they're like, "Sir, I would go for a noodle. I'll have a Maggie. I'll have a top ramen." So they engage into a quick fix meal like that. They engage into many other such kind of quick meals that are available in the market, but these are not in a perfect sense very healthy. Yeah, so it's okay to engage into those kind of foods in a very intermittent time, like sporadically having them, but on a day-to-day basis, having healthy snacks available at home. There are different kinds of foods. For example, simple thing, something that I do is always have a set of millets biscuit at home. So these are things, okay, that I have, which has enough amount of carbohydrate, fats, proteins, and fibers that keeps or makes me think that I'm eating or engaging into a healthy one. Or most of you, anytime you come home, I'll be having a basket of fruit available, so that when I'm hungry, that would be the first thing that I would want to go grab and eat. So I would want to have a lot of fruits at that particular point of time when I'm feeling hungry, instead of engaging into an unhealthy snack that would be available. So these are certain things that as students we can avoid and start following right from today. These are also, so bringing a control over our impulses, especially impulses, has been identified to be very very high when it comes to food and food related products. For example, suddenly if I say the word of chocolate, okay, I'm just uttering the word chocolate. The word chocolate immediately goes into your mind, creates a lot of images or photocopies of chocolate, 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 chocolate. This word that I'm repeating again and again of chocolate is going to create an impulse inside you to have a chocolate. And you will be like, okay, I would want to have a chocolate if you like it. Okay, not necessarily everyone in this group here today, but you would want to engage into that chocolate. You want to take a bite of the chocolate, so immediately you want to go out there. So that impulse, that is what we call as impulse, that momentary thought that you got, okay, I want to have a chocolate right now. That is something, again, very high when it comes to food. So that is why when we talk from a pure psychological perspective, one of the easiest ways we teach many of our clients to bring in a lot of self control over eating patterns is to engage into a lot of water drinking processes. Okay, so we ask them not to be hungry, not to be angry, not to be thirsty, and not to be lonely, so that they don't think about a particular food and they go on binge eating. So there is a concept called as binge eating. So they engage into eating a particular kind of food again and again and again, so much that is more than what is required for them. So all these things could be easily avoided. So simple thing, always keep some healthy snack available. So when you're getting a thought that you want to eat something, don't give a lot of time for your brain to think. Immediately go take a biscuit or a fruit, an apple and banana or papaya, take it, or a guava, take something, eat it immediately, so that that impulse that is about to set in is immediately going to drop down. Okay, you'll feel better, and you will continue with your other activities regularly. Okay, next, again, another important thing, I'm sure sleep is something that most of you are worried about, that you're not getting in enough. But how many of you have thought about that you are the only reason that you're not getting enough sleep? Yeah, so we have to start obeying our body clock. Okay, whatever work you're doing, you need to set in a timetable for your body. So the body requires certain amount of hours in the bed. It will be like, okay, I need to sleep from this time to this time, and without that, I'm sorry, I'm not going to help you to do any work tomorrow. Okay, so we need to start obeying our body clock. When it says, hey, boss, it's time for you to sleep, it's time for you to sleep. Go to sleep. Whatever activity that you have been doing, try to put it aside, because next day when you get up, you will be more fresh. You'll be in a better way to think about that particular process that you have been doing. You'll be able to pay more attention, perceive things in a perfect way. Your memory will be much more better than when you're doing tasks when your body is requesting for sleep. Okay, so we need to make sure we are these are called as sleep hygiene techniques. So we need to improve our sleep environment. We need to make sure that we are sleeping in a very dark room. There is very minimal source of light that is available, and also it should be a well ventilated room. We should sleep right next to a window, so that enough amount of breeze and air oxygen supply is available for you in order to give you good amount of sleep. Also, making sure that the fan temperature, everything is set at an optimum level. You're sleeping in a very comfortable position, making sure you're not having any kind of caffeines or gadgets after a particular point of time. I know it's very difficult to avoid gadgets after 6 p.m., but at least 2 hours before you go to sleep, trying to avoid phones is going to be a very good thing, because that can enhance or help you to produce a particular form of hormones called as melatonin in your body, that is going to help you to make you sleep. Okay, also there is a lot of lifestyle adjustments that we need to bring into when and how we are going to sleep, where we are going to sleep. So some of them I have noticed have a tendency to sleep off on the sofa, like they'll be using a phone, just like that they'll be sleeping off on the sofa. That is going to create a lot of impact on the body, not on day one, day two, but at day 20 or day 21. There'll be a lot of tiredness that you will start feeling at the end of the third week. Then you will be like, why am I feeling so tired? The reason is you're not giving enough rest to your body. So always we need to make in a lot of lifestyle adjustments in order to make sure that we are sleeping properly. Okay, already I told you, try to avoid any kind of caffeine contents after 6 p.m., because once it starts to become dark, automatically the pineal gland in your body starts sending messages to create a particular kind of hormones called melatonin, so that you are put off to sleep. Try to reduce the brightness of your light if you're not doing any cognitively engaging activities. Try to keep it low. Try to engage into book reading book reading or any other activities that can induce sleep. Okay, the next thing when we talk about self-regulation is time management. This is something very, very important for most of the college students, because assignments, exams. There are so many things, seminars, webinars, so many things that comes into your mind when we say about time management. So what we need, where we need to start is, first and foremost, we need to make a list. We need to make a list of things that we need to do. We need to check it twice whether we have completed the list, we have put down everything that is essential for this particular task to be completed. So write down all the different kinds of tasks, what has to be done. Then once you make this list and check it twice, the second time you'll identify, oh, probably this was work that not need to be completed now, it has to be done a little later. So I think, let me, instead of me spending more time on this, let me spend time on the other factor where I can improve the work that I have done. Okay, so instead of trying to push in your um, assignment for the previous night, or exam related things for your previous night, instead of that, preparing a schedule timetable, making sure that things are happening down in a particular fashion can help you to avoid wastage of time. Okay, so we need to make sure we are making use of best use of the downtime, that is when we are relaxed, we need to have time for ourselves. So it's always advised that there should be something called as a me time. Okay, always in your schedule when you're preparing, create a me time, like, okay, this is the time, this time to this time I will always have for myself, I am not dedicated for anyone else. Try to find a perfect balance between all these aspects. And the most important thing, stop complaining. Don't tell that you do not have enough time. Everyone has the same amount of time. It's just that how we plan and execute things becomes very important. So self time management is one of the most important self-regulatory behaviors that we can engage into. And a beautiful concept that I would always want to talk about is being mindful. So I told you, yoga is one of the best forms of physical activities, or any activity, because yoga is not considered as a exercise or anything. It is generally considered as a way of life. It's a lifestyle. So because they focus on being mindful. Okay, so first and foremost question generally that comes into my mind when I hear the term mindful is it mindful or mindful? Okay, because when I'm being mindful of things, that means I am paying more attention to the task at hand. I am like, okay, this is there, this has to be done, this is how I'll be doing. I'll be focusing on to the task that is given to me. Instead of that, okay, when I say mind, being mindful, okay, which most of us are most of the time. Right now this seminar that I'm presenting is going live. Okay, there'll be many people who will be mindful. Okay, there'll be many people then who will be mindful of things. They'll be like, okay, yesterday teacher gave me a work to finish, what about that? Oh, the match has been played. Oh, what is the score of the match? Okay, my friend told that he has been doing this activity, where did he find it? Where can I find this? What would I do that? There'll be so many different kinds of thoughts that would be going on inside you, that you will not be able to focus on the task at hand, that you will be forgetting to focus on the seminar that is happening. So, engaging or doing any activities, we can be mindful. You can mindfully practice your exercise. You can mindfully eat. You can mindfully walk. You can mindfully breathe. You can mindfully read. You can, you do any activity, just be mindful about that activity. That itself enhances or brings in a lot of self control within you. That in fact acts as a better self regulatory behavior. Also, this self regulation, so mindfulness, enhances the effectiveness of any activity that we do, because we'll be doing it very perfectly. Okay, I'm doing my assignment, I'm turning off my phone, not putting it in silent, I'm turning off my phone, I'm putting it aside, I don't want any distractions. I have kept myself in a separate room. I focus onto the task at hand, I'm not going to think of anything. Chances are that immediately your mind is going to throw a same thought. Hey, what about this? You told you'll message your friend when you're going to start your work, you didn't do that, you already switched off your phone, what is it? So that thought will be constantly be given by the mind. So it is through the self-regulatory practices or being mindful practices that we try to avoid those thoughts. Okay, thoughts keep coming up. The more you try to stop the thoughts coming up, the more they are going to push out and come out. Okay, it's like just like a ball. The more and more you try to push the ball underneath the water, and if you're going to leave it, what is going to happen? The ball is going to come up back in the same force. So don't try to push the ball inside the water, just leave it across. So if it is on a river, if the ball is on the river, what is going to happen? Once I catch hold of it and I start pushing it down and down and down so that I'm not seeing it, okay, once you take the hand out of it, once you open up the lid, it's going to push up and come up. But on a river, you just leave it or let it be. It's just going to keep flowing to unknown destinations where the thought is not even going to come back into your mind. Okay, so focus on the task at hand. Okay, whatever task you do, focus on it. And also, these are some simple techniques. Try to avoid other thoughts. A very basic thing that you can do today is when you're going to have your evening snack, just just count how many times you are chewing. Okay, how many times you are chewing. Next, try to focus on a single flavor of that particular thing that you're eating. It can be a sweet, salt, spicy, sour, it can be any kind of feeling. Just try to swirl around in your mouth, try to experience just that one particular form of the taste that you're going to get it. Okay, so mindful has always been being mindful has always been a very good thing. So we need to make sure that we are being more and more mindful in most of the activities that we are going to engage into. Okay, so yeah, so I would want to see if the audio is clear, but we'll just come back to this a little later because I would have to change the setting in the audio. I'll come back. So before we go into that, uh, there is a concept called as motivation. I'm sure all of you are motivated. So most of you who are motivated are sitting here listening to this processes and techniques that I have been telling right now. So when we're telling about self-regulation, that is also a motivated behavior. Without motivation, self-regulation is not going to take place because motivation acts as one of the core components of self-regulation. That is one of the factors that is going to determine how well we are able to relate or regulate our emotions and behaviors. So at an individual's level, let's see. So motivation helps the particular person to succeed in that endeavor that he has planned for, because it is going to have a direct relationship to his performance. Even if he has the best intention, well laid plan, extraordinary willpower, the person is likely going to fail if he doesn't have enough motivation to regulate his behavior and avoid temptations that is going to slack off or set his goal aside for another day. Okay, so a simple thing, I want to reduce weight. Okay, I have the thought, okay, this is my concept, I need to lead a healthy life, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go play for half an hour, I'm going to go to gym, I'm going to go to the yoga studio, this is my plan. I'll be able to do it, yes I can do it. But the person does not have motivation. I'm going to do this, all of these things from tomorrow, gone. The effectiveness of it is already gone. Or something else came up. Oh, that seems better. Maybe tomorrow I can push it off. I can just finish this activity and tomorrow, pakka, I'll do it. Without that motivation, self regulation is not going to start. So, the more we are motivated to achieve our goals, the more capable we are to strive towards them. So, the impact of our well being is by fulfilling with our sense of purpose, competence, and self esteem, especially when we are able to meet our goals. Okay, so yeah, a couple of concepts to focus on your emotional well-being. One is what we call a tape recorder. So most of you would have seen this particular device. It's called a tape recorder. You can see it has different kinds of buttons in it. So it has a play button, pause button, stop, record, forward, and backward. Yeah, so rewind and forward. So you'll be having different kinds of buttons in that particular tape recorder. So what it does, it first and foremost, it has the capacity to record, okay, whatever is happening. So from you I would want you to distance yourself from the thoughts and emotions that is going on. Record, especially when you are angry. Okay, the emotion that you are experiencing currently is anger. You want to say something against to your friend, but for a moment I would want you to pause. Instead of playing, I want you to pause. I want you to record, okay, what how you will be engaging into that behavior, how you would be showing the anger towards your friend. Okay, then I would want you to move back and check what are the other ways which you can do, or move forward and see what would be the future implication. So you can just quickly do, okay, if I'm going to tell this, what is going to happen, what will happen if I react in a different way. Then once you have decided where you have what you have recorded and from where you have to play, then we have to hit the play button, where from there you can lead a better emotional well-being. This is a sort of a thing that we call as emotional regulation. Also, we need to make sure that we are paying attention to a lot of positive events. There are a lot of things that happens around us, but we fail to focus on different positive events that is happening around us. Also, we have to make sure that we engage into a lot of positive activities. Also, we have to keep ourselves open for a lot of good things to happen. So by doing this, what we are doing is we are just enhancing the amount of positivity in our life, where we'll have less time to focus on negativity. Instead of trying to avoid negativity, we are just filling our data or share a daily schedule with a lot of positive events. So this is the next thing that I want to tell. It's what we have discussed till now. The entire thing can be summarized into one particular thing that we call as please skills. Okay, so this is caring for your mind by caring for your body. Okay, this is a very beautiful concept. So the please is an acronym. So PL stands for physical illness. So we need to make sure that we are treating physical illnesses. We need to take the prescribed medicines, or we need to engage into certain activities where we can avoid that physical illnesses. So when the doctor says, uh, when you go to the doctor when you're sick and he says take rest and listen to your body's limit, we need to immediately do that. We'd be like, okay, this is a time for my body to rest. I'm not going to do any work further. You should not push the limits of your body. Next is balanced eating, that we have seen. Balanced sleep, get exercises. One thing that we have not covered upon in detail is avoiding mood altering drugs, because when a person is stressful, okay, this is one of the easiest ways where they feel that they can come out of stress. Okay, so by staying off from any kind of illicit drugs or alcohol in moderation, if there are anything at all, we need to avoid all of those things so that we can make sure that we are taking care of our mind as well as our body. Okay, so the last part of the topic today, I told you I'll be talking about self-regulated learning. Okay, so Zimmerman, he was the one who gave the self-regulated learning theory. So he came up with three areas or three times when self-regulation can aid the learning process. The first is before the learning task is started, the student can consider the task. Okay, you have to consider the task, set goals, develop a plan to tackle the task. That is the first thing he emphasizes on. Second is when we are doing the task. Okay, so when we are doing the task, what we need to do, we need to constantly monitor our own performance, see how well the strategies have worked, and we need to go to the next stage, that is what is to be done after the task. So here the student can reflect back. See, we are constantly playing, replaying, and rewinding and coming back to the same stage, where we are going to reflect back on their performance and determine what worked well and what did not, and what has to change. So based on this, we can regulate. So in terms of education, you can apply this. Start with putting up a task, setting goals, develop a plan to tackle the task. See how well you are able to do, whether this is a right strategy or you need to replan, you need to go back and replan. That you assess in the after task, how well you are able to reflect back onto their performance. Yes, I put in these kind of efforts, and this is the reward that I have received because of that. Okay, and apart from these methods, we have discussed various other things. We have to make sure we have a lot of fun for make a lot of time for fun outside of work or college. We need to engage into such kind of behaviors, uh, laugh more often, watch comedy videos, watch things that you like, that you want to hear. Make sure that you're spending a lot of time with yourself, a lot of me time, a lot of alone time. Get involved into any kind of self-expressive behaviors. Either it can be art, or listening to music, or even singing music, dance, writing music. These are different kinds of things that can help you to express yourself in a particular way, that can let out the emotions that has been pent up. Okay. Also, engage into a lot of nurturing and caring self talks. So keep talking to yourself. You would have heard about sports people engaging into a lot of self talks. Yes, you can do it. Engage into a lot of caring and nurturing self talks. Again, self talks can be positive. It can be, end up telling you that uh, sorry, it can be a negative where it can end up telling you that, hey, you can't do this. What is this? You are useless. You have not done things properly. What is happening? These kind of self talks is going to pull down. Engage into a lot of positive self talks, caring, nurturing, and positive self talks. That is going to push you to the next level. So, with this, I would like to conclude. I think I have taken 5 minutes extra from the time that was allotted. But, anyways, thank you all for listening and being here today to listen to this seminar on self regulatory behaviors to cope up the stresses during COVID 19. If you have any queries and details, you can mail me at vikrant@kristujayanti.com. Now, the session is open for questions, if any. Thank you.
Sir, there are questions in the comment section. Can I read it one by one for you?
Uh, yeah, I think I'm also able to see the comment section.
Okay,
Yeah,
shall I read
please,
it?
please, please, please.
Okay, sir. So the first
Thank you.
question is, many children nowadays use video games and movies for recreation. How will you convince children to engage in varied recreational activities apart from screen-related recreational activities?
Yes, yeah. That's a very nice question. It is, in fact, a very difficult thing. So most of us, even us, most of us, when we are engaging into any such kind of things, we have noticed ourselves very difficult to keep our cell phone down or keep a easy, because these are physically less straining activities. Okay, so you will be more tuned to get into those kind of physically less training activities. Those are a lot of physically tiring activities. So probably making the client engage into sorry, making the child go out, giving certain times, setting time limits for mobiles or video games, telling that yes, you have your opportunity to play video games, but play from this time to this time. Don't uh, like creating a timetable, creating a schedule where we are saying that, okay, if you are going to engage into video games from this time to this time, from this time to this time, you need to engage into certain kind of physical activity. Go out, play games, put them into a coaching center based on what they are interested in. Something can be very interesting for them, not only necessarily sports or other things. It can be music, dance, drawing, art. It can be any forms. Wherever they're interested, they can go ahead and engage into those activities.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, will meditation and breathing exercises help regulate our stress considering the COVID situation? Could you suggest a few simple exercises like that?
Yes, of course. In fact, meditation and breathing exercises can be a very useful way in order to beat the COVID situation currently, especially our stress. Because breathing, if you're going to look into more, again, coming back into yogic sciences, breathing acts as a bridge between the physical body and the pranic body. So when we, the breath is what we have to regulate. So engaging into breathing exercises, very simple exercises, where what we call as hands in and out stretch or ankle stretch breathing. So all these things with a lot of breathing awareness. So when you breathe out, breathe in, you extend your arms, and breathe out, you bring your arms together. Or again, breathe in, you extend your arms above your head, and breathe out and bring them down. Or engaging into any other forms of breathing exercises, any different forms, any exercises that you used to do before, with a lot of breathing awareness. If you start doing that, also would be very effective for you. Okay. And yes, meditations is, when we spoke about the concept of mindfulness, the entire aspect of mindfulness has been predominantly presented as a um, meditation technique only. Okay, over the years, mindfulness has been happening as a meditation technique, and the reason why the Westerners had taken up the concept of mindfulness is predominantly because of its effect on the concepts such as stress. Okay, these are very useful things that you can practice.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, sir, how to manage negative thoughts and emotions during COVID?
Okay, yes, that's again a very beautiful question, because negative emotions are again unavoidable. I told you, right? It's more like that ball that we are trying to push down and down, down. So we'll not be able to control it. So when I'm thinking, or when I'm of the process that okay, let me put it down, let me put it down, let me bury it, let me bury it. That's not going to get buried so easily. If one negative thought goes, another negative thought is going to come up immediately. Okay, so our brain or our entire mind functions into that particular fashion. So managing negative thoughts can happen through any of those methods that I had told. That police technique, that police technique has been predominantly done to manage negative emotions, and also engaging into mindfulness based practices. Okay, it can be anything. So eat mindfully when you're telling that, or when you're going to eat your dinner tonight. Just be mindful. When the negative thoughts are coming, just accept them as thoughts. Okay, these are thoughts, and we humans are nothing but a bundle of thoughts. Okay, so these thoughts are the only thing that gives us an idea that yes, I am alive. Okay, my brain is functioning properly. So thoughts keep coming. The thoughts can be positive, thoughts can be negative. So instead of paying more attention, once as soon as a thought comes up, especially if it has an emotional balance, or a negative, especially a negative emotional balance, immediately a mind starts focusing on to that particular thought. So it will be like, okay, oh yeah, what my thought is saying is correct. We need to start to dissociate ourselves. We need to we need to make sure that okay, the thought is separate, I am separate, the thought is not me. Whatever the thought brings up is not exactly defining who I am. We need to understand that. But still, if you're not able to manage the thoughts and negative thoughts and emotions, if it is going out of hand, it is always better that you take help from a psychologist who's practicing around in your area. They'll be able to come up with an individualized plan that can help you to cope up with these emotions in a much better way. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, can you suggest some ways to reduce the headaches and body pain for students who have to sit and work to complete their assignments for most of the day?
That's again, everything has become online these days. That we are always engaging into staring into our screen, sitting and typing. Things never used to happen this much previously. Yes, so engaging into a lot of like simple things, blinking, eye blinking exercises. So take your time off from your screen. So if you're working for 15 minutes, take a break for 5 minutes out of your screen. Okay, 5 minutes I watched, 5 minutes I'll be looking outside. Look outside. Like, don't keep staring at a small space. Don't take your phone and start watching a video during the time break. Keep everything out. No gadget time. Okay, so 15 minutes, 5 minutes no gadget time, where you will be going out, you'll be walking out, you'll be looking at things around you. You'll not be focusing on anything else apart from anything. You will be looking at anything else apart from gadgets. Okay, so and also engaging into a lot of blinking. Okay, that also has been very effective in reducing the strain that eye receives, and because of which headache can get increased. Okay, so and also try to keep the brightness at a lower level, especially if you're sitting in a very dark room. Try to make sure that you're utilizing certain things, um, like seating postures are very very important, because our body pain. So just go back, think, and let me know, how do you sit when you're going to go and message? We sit in a sofa or in a chair. First position will be here. Next, our body is going to get folded up, folded up, folded up, folded up. That's how we are going to, we sit in a very abnormal posture, because we become very mindless about how we are sitting. Okay, so sitting erect, making sure we are sitting in a very comfortable chair. uh, the laptop should be kept at a particular position where it is directly under your vision. Okay, all these things can reduce the effort. Okay, because when the laptop is going to be kept straight, you'll be looking straight. So there won't be enough, there won't be much strain on your neck once you have to bend. Okay, regularly doing wrist exercises, elbow exercises, all these simple movements, because these kind of simple activities can also, finger exercises, just, or you'll get that stress ball, right, just pressing that stress ball, all these things can are simple things that can help you to reduce different body aches. Also stretching your legs, okay, because that's why I told you, when you're taking that 5 minutes break, move out of your room, go out, walk somewhere, take a walk around the house, go talk to your parents, don't be seated. Even when you're talking, engage with them from a standing position, so that you disengage yourself from that sitting posture, and make sure your body pain does not come up that much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, what time of the day is best to do yoga? Is it okay to practice Surya Namaskar in the evening?
Yes, of course. Uh, there is no specific time that has been prescribed. Okay, only there are certain things that we need to follow. For example, if you have had food, okay, don't practice yoga for the next 4 hours. Okay, that should be something that you are keeping in your mind. Okay, so for 4 hours after I eat my food, that is when I'll be starting to practice yoga, because that can have an impact on your digestive processes also. Okay, so if you're having a tea or coffee, minimum give a break of 1 hour, so that the digestion kicks in, and then your body does not have a negative impact. But apart from that, yoga can be practiced any time of the day, right from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. You can practice anytime. And yes, in fact, Surya Namaskar is one of the best dynamic exercises that you will get. And you can practice it at any time, whenever you're whenever based on this pattern that I had told you. For example, you had food by 1 o'clock, by 4 o'clock you're having tea. Make sure by 5:30 you can start practicing your exercise that you want to do.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, can we exercise before sleep? Does it affect the sleep pattern?
Okay, yes. In fact, that does have a major impact on our sleep pattern, because engaging into physical activity, many of them think that it can actually tone down our body. Until or otherwise we do not engage into proper relaxation after our exercise, the sleep patterns are going to get affected. Okay, because your muscles and your the way that you have the exercises that you have practiced is going to make you very active. It is not going to allow you to sleep. Okay, so that is why you need to tone down, you need to relax. So you need to make sure all your muscles that have been tightened up during the exercise process are completely relaxed, so that you can enhance your sleeping. Okay, so it is always better to avoid exercises before sleeping, okay, or before dinner. So try to fix up by 7. If you are going to have dinner by 8, by 7 you should have completed your daily exercise routines, so that you'll have enough time for body to relax and go to sleep by 10 or 11.
Thank you, sir. So the last question for the day, is it good if someone strains themselves by getting into a lot of activities just to distract themselves?
Okay. Yeah. uh, the concept of distraction is actually very difficult to answer, because when I'm going to engage, or when I want to take away my thought from a particular thought process and I engage into more activity, I am putting myself into more stress, distress, than doing any good for my body. It is not always the suggested way to distract yourself into different. Yes, sometimes distraction could be a simple thing. For example, I'm feeling very stressed out. If I'm focusing on the task at hand, I'm not able to focus on it. I want to focus on my I want to listen to music. I want to relax myself. That kind of a distraction is absolutely fine. Okay. So, but they're distracting yourself into doing multiple activities at the same time, or engaging into different things, try thinking that it will help you to reduce your stress. No, that is going to build up more stress. Engaging into one activity that you're very comfortable doing, that will be a good way to keep yourself fresh, and like not get strangulated by that distraction activity. Yep.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Girls, the
you.
rest of the questions will be answered lately because we're running short of time. Uh,
Yes.
so now I request Shema, Minister from the Food Science Department, to render her vote of thanks to sir.
Good evening to one and all present here. It is indeed a privilege to be proposing the word of thanks for today. I, on behalf of the Ministry of Health and Hygiene, MOP Vaishnav College Huberman, would like to take this opportunity to express my sincerest gratitude to our guest for the day, Mr. Vikrant Bapu, who took time out of his busy schedule and graced us with his presence today and guided us with regards to self regulatory behavior during COVID 19. Sir, I'm sure we have all profited from your enlightening presentation. Your points on self regulation, its process, how it relates our behavior, how to judge our behavior in relation to our own personal standards, and also on how to enhance our self regulation skills in a phased manner were really enlightening. I once again thank you for your valuable inputs and for clearing our doubts so patiently, sir. I would also like to extend my thanks to the management, our secretary, Sri Manoj Kumar Santalia, our respected principal, Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan, our vice principal, Dr. Uttira, and our beloved head of departments of psychology and food science and management for giving us this great learning opportunity and for their constant support and guidance. Next, I would like to thank all the members of the Ministry of Health and Hygiene for their hard work and determination, without which this event would not have been possible. Lastly, I would like to thank my fellow students, all of you who joined us today and helped make this session a success. Thank you all and have a great day.